The St. Louis Cardinals opening day roster is set, and there was one major plot twist that surprised a lot of people.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes in the shorts are dropped. And I know that sounds funny when I talk about dropping shorts, but you know what I'm talking about if you watch the videos. Also available on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 5 or 50% off your first year. So Grapefruit League play is over. It's done. In the books. Cardinals fall to the Washington Nationals by a score of 2-1. Eric Fetty, solid today in his final start. Not a lot of offense to talk about for the Cardinals, so really no need to go into that game all that much. The big news is the Cardinals have set their opening day roster, and there were a few wrinkles, we could say that were unexpected, but the major plot twist was what they did with the starting rotation, where Matthew Liberatore is joining your incumbent number one, Sonny Gray, Sunday's starter, Eric Fetty, veteran Miles Michaelis, and Andre Palante. Now, the names that I'm sure you've noticed that are missing from this group are veteran left-hander Steven Matz and young right-hander Michael McGreevy, which is bothering some people. Matz is going to start this year in the bullpen. Going to be their long relief guy to start the year. Again, before people start flipping out about who's doing what the roles are, you know things can change, right? Like this doesn't all just get locked into stone and you're just set there and it doesn't ever change throughout the year. This is going to be something that moves around. It's going to happen. But Matz is going to start as their long relief guy in the bullpen. McGreevy is going to begin the year in Memphis. We're going to delve a little deeper into those decisions in a bit, but I want to focus on Matthew Liberatore's promotion, if you will. Because when the Cardinals traded Randy Arozarena for Liberatore back in the winter of 2020, the idea was that he was going to be a starter. That's what he was, former first-round pick. You know the rest. Arozarena goes on to, be a superstar for a couple of years, and Libby continued to basically not meet expectations. The expectations of a first-round pick, the expectations of a guy who's supposed to be a starter. And we kept saying, patience, patience, patience. And, patience was running thin with Matthew Liberatore. Last year, the Cardinals decided to use him almost exclusively as a relief pitcher. He makes 60 appearances and started just 6 games. As a starter, not great. 1-2 ERA, 6.35 in 22 and 2/3 innings. Not a whole lot to write home about, right? As a relief pitcher, so much better. So much better. 2-2. ERA of 3.69 in 63 1/3 innings. And he got better as the season went on. Final 2 months, he made 25 appearances, all in relief. Settled into the role. Finally picked the spot for him. Cardinals have a problem with that. And then Ollie was able to pick and choose when he wanted to use Matthew Liberatore. Got to decide who were the guys that he was going to face. Give him a better shot at succeeding. And he did. ERA, 2.67. Much better. Gave up earned runs in just 5 of those final 25 appearances, with really one ugly game kind of screwing up the numbers a little bit. Gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in just 2/3 of an inning against the Yankees. But he was really, really good. Became a weapon out there with Jojo Romero, Andrew Kittredge, Ryan Fernandez, and Ryan Helsley. And Ollie deployed them very, very well. He was a lefty with strikeout ability. Obviously, that's really nice to have in your pen. But the Cardinals have kind of a strange dilemma right now, if that's even the proper word to call it. The Cardinals have 4 capable left-handed pitchers on their staff. 2 of them they view as starters, Steven Matz and Matthew Liberatore. The other two are John King and JoJo Romero. Moving McGreevy into the rotation and having 4 lefties in the pen didn't make a whole lot of sense. I brought this up before. It was like, all right, so we're going to go with all righties in the rotation, and then we got, 4 lefties out there in the bullpen? Didn't really add up, okay? Plus, the other part of this dilemma, which it's not even a bad thing, but the fact is that all the Cardinals starters in spring training, they're currently healthy. Not a lot of teams can get through spring training with the 5 guys that they kind of want to be the starters staying healthy the whole time. Usually people got to make adjustments. Look what the Yankees are going through. But right now, everybody seems fine, even though Sonny Gray hasn't had a great spring. Says he feels fine. He's not hurt. Andre Palante, a little low on the velo right now. Doesn't appear to have any injury issues. Now, certainly this is something that can fluctuate. Matz, as we know, has fought that injury bug his entire career. And we knew that they were going to keep Levy stretched out to be a starter this offseason. We knew that, and through the spring. That nobody hid that from us. That was never in question. The reasoning behind it was that it was easier to throw less innings after being used to throwing a lot more than it is to be used to throwing less innings and ramp yourself up to throw more. But under the surface, perhaps this was something the Cardinals were thinking about all along. You know, they continue to use that word transition year. Despite starting Steven Matz 5 times this spring and looking pretty darn good. Give Matz credit in those starts. ERA 2.29 over 19 2/3 innings. They only gave Matthew Liberatore 1 start, and that was on Saturday. They had him come in relief 5 times where he was good. ERA this spring, 1.29. The Cardinals are going to flip-flop him. They're going to put Libby in the rotation. Matz is going to the bullpen. And I'm not here to argue that it's a bad move because I've been beating the drum of putting Steven Matz in the bullpen this whole time. If you're an everydayer, you know this. I'm like, I know what Steven Matz is. Transition year, right? I don't need him in my rotation. I've got other guys I want to watch. I just thought that it would be Michael McGreevy getting that spot and not Liberatore. Now, the idea is that it will remain this way until April 11th, and that's when the team doesn't have as many off days. They got just one between April 11th and May the 7th. And that's when Matz, if the plan goes accordingly, will then join the starters again. They'll implement that 6-man rotation that we've heard them talk about a few times. Now, when Ali was asked about this decision, he told the media, sometimes we focus on opening day and the start of the season, but a different way to do it than Liberatore just going to the bullpen and then an injury happens and you're tapping into McGreevy is that this allows for some flexibility. Matz and Libby are going to be stretched out as starters, and you have some protection with McGreevy starting in Memphis. It was a hard choice because McGreevy was very effective, and he had a good camp. He's going to come up and help us, but this allows for one more layer of protection. And McGreevy had an amazing camp. Did everything in his power to take over one of these spots. But the Cardinal starters, Sonny Gray has been terrible. But we're not going to put Sonny Gray in the rotation. Palante could have had a better camp, right? But he earned it after what he did last year in the second half, where he's above where McGreevy is as far as in the pecking order. They're not moving Michaelis to the bullpen. So not really a spot for McGreevy. The one spot Libby will have to get better at when he faces right-handed pitchers now that he's going to be a full-time starter. In his career, righties are hitting 292. He's got to be better against them. They got an OPS of 878 against them. Lefties, just 218, 576 OPS. He's got to be better against him. As a starter, the opposing manager is going to look at those numbers and go, we'll start every right-hander we have. They're going to stack them. So he's going to have to figure out how to be more effective against those guys to succeed. And then you're also thinking about the long term. after 2025. Michaelis, Matz, Fetty, contracts are up after the year. Likely not going to be around, right? Which leaves you Sonny Gray and Andre Palante. And if you believe that Matthew Liberatore can be a starter and that he's going to figure out how to get right-handers out consistently, then you can add Libby to that mix, right? So you would have Gray, Palante, Liberatore, along with McGreevy, and more than likely Quinn Matthews. I mean, that's a pretty nice young stable of starting pitchers. It's a good spot to start with, right? And in this transition year that we're talking about, why not see what he can do now? Like, I don't hate the move. Now here's the thing. They got to give him the runway, which they brought up a lot. You got to give him the same runway that you're going to give position players. Can't give him 2 starts and then pull the plug like the Cardinals have been known to do. You got to stick with it. And I'll acknowledge that, saying I wanted him to have the ability to go into St. Louis knowing that he's a starter and not the back and forth. This isn't a tryout of a couple of starts. He's going to start. Don't look over your shoulder. Go be a starter, and we'll evaluate as we go. And I put the poll question up on X asking whether, is this a good move? Is this a bad move with Liberatore in the starting rotation? And so far, just over 65% of the vote says good move. People seem to like it. Personally, I got a little nervous, and I get a little nervous when you move a guy who has found a lot of success at a certain spot and you try doing something new with him, switching it up. But I see why you're willing to give him this opportunity, and hopefully it pays off. So your rotation from the outset is as follows. Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, Miles Michaelis, Andre Palante, and Matthew Liberatore, with your bullpen consisting of Steven Matz for now, Ryan Helsley, Jojo Romero, Ryan Fernandez, Phil Maton, John King, Kyle Leahy, and Chris Roycroft. We're going to get to the offense next, where 2 of the guys that I wanted to see on this team made the cut. They're in. Well, one that we thought maybe wouldn't be on the team is actually still here. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, of course you are. Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Myself, I am somebody who works out, trying to keep the muscle mass on. Got to get all the protein you can handle. I get the no-shells variety of Wonderful Pistachios because I am so lazy that I don't want to crack shells. I just want to eat them. Grab a handful, you throw them back. Watching the Blues, watching the Cardinals, whatever it is, whatever sporting event, I prefer to just do it that way. Just throw it right down the hatch. And I need the protein. So if I'm going to snack, might as well do it the smart way with Wonderful Pistachios. And that makes sense for you too. It just makes it super easy to go get that quick protein boost and provide all 9 essential amino acids. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Have you ever checked your bank account and then wondered, where did all my money go? It happens. It happens. Between dining out, your online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. It really is. And that's where Monarch Money steps in and becomes your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and your spending, and do it all in one place so you can stop just managing your money and actually start building wealth, save something. That way you can afford to go do even bigger and better things that you want to do in your life. I know it's inconvenient and, to go out and get food, right? Like, it's so nice to be able to just get on your phone and boop, 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 call it in, have them come down and drop it off to you, right? I get it. But sometimes you don't realize how much you're actually spending on things like food delivery. And now you can budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And if you're married or you've got a partner, it makes managing money with that person even smoother. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without any of the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. We had a lot of feedback about when the rosters were announced earlier on Sunday, so plenty of stuff that we're going to get to in upcoming episodes. But the battle of Victor Scott II against Michael Siani, that was the one that I was keeping a close eye on. It was something that intrigued me. And the battle for that roster spot was an overwhelming knockout by Victor Scott, right? He just pummeled Siani in every way possible. Scott finishes the spring hitting .349, a surprising 4 home runs, tied for the team lead. Didn't see that coming. 7 ribbies. He led the team in runs scored with 11. He was tied for the team lead in hits with 15, third in walks with 8, stolen bases, tops on the team with 5. Siani on the other side, though, he ends the spring hitting 95. 1 run scored, no extra base hits, 1 RBI, 7 walks, yay, 2 stolen bases, but he strikes out 15 times, second most on the team. Ugly stuff, right? Nothing about what Michael Siani did this spring with the bat says he should be on this Cardinals opening day roster. The only thing that he's got going for him is that his defense and speed would be a valuable asset late in game, which he would. And I pointed that out before. It makes a lot of sense. And that Victor Scott might be better served playing in Memphis if he was not going to do that at the major league level. That's the only way it seemed to make sense that Siani would win this job and that Scott would go down. They toyed with Newton Center. It's clear that he can play there if he needs to, but that Scott and Siani are superior center fielders defensively. There's really no discussion there about that. It's plain as day. So as ass backwards as it sounds, having the lesser all-around player on the roster, which was Victor Scott, which was Michael Siani, over the clearly more talented player, which is Victor Scott, was something that was being discussed. But instead of having to actually make a choice between the two, the Cardinals said, you know what? F it. We're going to keep them both. And they've named Victor Scott II the starting center fielder for opening day. So congratulations to Victor. Ali said this to Katie Wu from The Athletic about the decision on Scott, saying, you tell someone to go work on something and he comes and does exactly that. You have to reward that. Scott has earned that spot. He's the center fielder and he's going to go play. At the end of every month, we'll evaluate and sit him down. We'll have conversations and we go from there. But this isn't you got 2 weeks to show what you're capable of doing. It's not that. So again, like with Matthew Liberatore, they're saying that guys have earned these roles and that these are not tryouts. This is their job now. The only way they're going to lose this job is if they aren't any good at it. But this is their jobs now. The decision to keep Siani obviously might surprise some people because of how poorly he was offensively this spring, but he's a guy that they clearly value and want around. They like him. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's never been a good hitter. But they love the fact that he can be somebody they can deploy late in the game. And, and I brought this up too. I'm like, if you've got a situation where, the idea was to have, Donovan in left, but you could switch things up where you could put, Newt was going to go to right and Victor could go to left. Siani could go to center and you're covering a lot of ground there. It just makes a lot of sense. Donnie moves in to second base. Gorman comes out of the game. Like, it just makes more sense defensively late in the game. I get that. So, the guy who apparently lost his role was Jose Fermin out of all of this. He had reportedly made the team. Katie Wu had said that sources say he's on the team, made the spot. No, has not happened. That is not what's the case. He has been sent down to Memphis along with Jose Barrero. Both of them opened some eyes, I think, this spring. But they're deciding to do this. So I got my Victor Scott. So I got Steven Matz in the pen. I got my Victor Scott that I wanted. The other guy I wanted to see on the team was, who was also on the bubble, was Luken Baker, who also made the opening day roster. Way to go, Luken Baker. 273, 4 home runs, tied for the team lead with Victor Scott. 8 RBIs, an impressive 9 walks. The Cardinals last year lacked thump from the right side on the bench. They did. There was a weakness, and Baker fills that void. He can only play first in DH, which is not great, right? It's got some ramifications to the flexibility of this roster, but I'm glad that he's getting a spot to start this season. Where this is really going to pinch things is at bats for Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman, who we thought was part of this whole, you're going to have this runway. Because your roster has Herrera and Pages at catcher. You're only going to start one. It's very dangerous to start Pages at catcher and Herrera at DH. You don't want to get stuck in that. You got Contreras at first, Donovan now at second, which makes this infield so much better defensively in my eyes. Mason went at short, Nato over at third. Then you got Newt, Scott, Walker, with Burley and Gorman as your DH. Siani and Baker are your other 2 bench spots. There's your 13. So lineup construction, what does that mean for that? We will tap into that next on Locked On Cardinals.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast with our hosts, Dominic Martino and Matthew Ane. MLB Fantasy Draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So how will these lineups look? That's the question, right? They're going to look a little different against righties and against lefties. I'm thinking something like this. Shortstop, Mason Wynn. This is the order, too, that I think that they might go with. Shortstop, Mason Wynn. Left field, Lars Nootbaar. First base, Wilson Contreras. Your DH, Alec Burleson or Nolan Gorman. Third base, Nolan Arenado. Brendan Donovan at second. Catcher, Ivan Herrera. Right fielder, Jordan Walker. And then Victor Scott the second, batting ninth. I am a big fan of the righty, lefty, righty, lefty. I like the back and forth just because it makes it a pain in the butt for the opposing manager later on in the game. But something to that effect. I'm sure there's some things that you can move around and massage a little bit there, like does Burleson have to or Gorman have to bat fourth? Maybe Donovan bats fourth. That could be a thing. I wouldn't put it past him. Ivan Herrera could be higher up in the order considering the way he's been hitting this spring. You know? Is there a chance that Lars Nootbaar ends up batting lead up at some point? Or maybe Victor Scott scoots all the way up there? We'll see. Production will dictate how that all works, but that's kind of the idea I think that they'll go with. Against lefties, it's a little bit trickier because of how many left-handed hitters the Cardinals have. With only Baker and whomever isn't catching that day as your righties on the bench, I personally would love to see Baker get that DH against lefties instead of Burley or Gorman. So you'd go with Mason Wynn at short, Nootbaar in left, Contreras at first, Nato batting cleanup at third, Herrera then at catcher, or you can flip-flop them if you want. Donovan at second, Walker in right, Baker DHing, Victor Scott at center field. And you'll notice that there is no backup shortstop here on the roster to start. Nolly said that Donovan would fill that role when needed early on, and obviously these things, like I said, they can be massaged. Maybe Gorman gets more time against righties at third to give Nato more days off. Does Walker necessarily have to play every day? Giving him 4 starts out of 6 a week, that's pretty good. That's what I call runway. When he doesn't go, you can put Burley, give him some run in left field. Newt swings over to right field. Donnie can go out there with Gorman at second. But that's really going to be the tough part for Ollie this year, is figuring out how to get everybody into the game and give them ample at-bats. He told Katie Wu, I'm going to do my absolute best to get everybody the necessary amount of at-bats for us to know what we have at the end of the year. These are fair questions, but we'll see what this looks like in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But we'll have a lineup rotation that, while we're all healthy, still gets guys at bats. And honestly, I was really hoping that Walker or Gorman would have had better springs to stand out a little more and make giving them more at bats a little easier pill to swallow. But it didn't happen. So it's kind of like you're force feeding them in, even though they look like crap at the plate most of the time. Walker dealt with the knee thing. Gorman got better, but you never really saw them just like, boom. You know, Walker had that 3 RBI game just recently, but like, you know, I just had hoped for more. To be like, yes, there they are. Those are the guys. But overall, hard for me to complain about things. I know people are going to be upset that McGreevy somehow is not on this roster, but when you've got everybody healthy and you've got this many veterans signed and you didn't trade anybody like you thought you were going to probably do, this is what happens. This is what happens. But like I said, I got Matz is in the pen. That's where I wanted him. Victor and Baker make the team. That's what I wanted. I wanted to see these things happen. And the Cardinals agreed, at least for now, that these are the smart moves. I'm a little surprised they didn't keep Jose Fermin, who had a really strong spring, hitting .292, got hot late, 1 home run, 9 RBIs. But just because it's like this on opening day doesn't mean things won't get massaged after things get figured out. When they start to figure out who's good at what, how things need to be, whether it's injuries, whether it's production needs and issues. You know, Lucan Baker still has an option left. Michael Siani's got 2. Victor Scott's got 2. So if things get goofy and they figure out, okay, wait a minute, the puzzle isn't coming together the way we wanted it to, they can adjust. Fermin and Barrero are there for infield help. You got a lot of help at Memphis. Koperniak and Hellman are down there. So JC is down there. McGreevy, Matthews, Tekoa Roby, Tim Kent, Sim Robertson, all down there for rotation depth. A number of relief arms like Riley O'Brien, Roderick Munoz, Gordon Graceffel, Ryan Lutos, Nicky Anderson, Andre Granillo. Memphis got a kind of a nice squad down there. And we're going to get to hear about it because Monday, Cards are in Memphis to play the Redbirds. So Andre Palante set to get his final start of the spring. And then it's off to St. Louis to prepare for Thursday's opener against the Twins. Sonny Gray versus Pablo Lopez. Looking forward to it. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and our love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.